Well, good afternoon, everybody, and how lovely to see you all here on what has been the most amazing spring day today. Some of you I know were able to join us for a world first this afternoon, which was the first ever cherry blossom viewing party in the Cathedral Close. And that was courtesy not only of some pretty amazing cherry trees out there, but the Sakura Cherry Tree Project, which is busily planting, I believe it's going to be 10,000 cherry trees altogether, all over the UK. And 3 years ago, we received a very generous donation of a number of these Sakura trees from the Cherry Tree Project. And we planted some of them around Nelson, who I think is enjoying them up there. There are more around the Lower Close, and there are some on the University of East Anglia campus. So if you haven't had a chance to go and enjoy them yet, to go and take a peek, because they're looking pretty good. And I think this year is the best year so far for all the blossoms. And cherry blossom viewing, or hanami, is a really big thing in Japan. And I think there will be people up and down Japan, I should imagine, Meri, won't there, who are paying close attention to the cherry tree blossom forecast, which tells you where the blossoms will be at their peak, which comes on just after the weather forecast every day. It's a really lovely time to be over there. So I think I know many of you. I'm Simon Kaner. I'm the Executive Director at the Sainsbury Institute for the Study of Japanese Arts and Cultures. And it's just so lovely to see so many friends here in person. And it's equally wonderful to know that I believe we've got about 200 odd people online as well, so I hope you're all going to be able to enjoy this evening's talk. We're hoping that the technology will do what we want it to do. We're not very often in the hostelry here anymore, so please just, if anything does happen, bear with us, and we will be back just as soon as we possibly can. So this afternoon, it's a very great pleasure and honor to welcome a very dear friend of ours, Dr. Meri Arichi. Meri is currently the chair of the Circle of Japanese Art London, and I know does amazing things with that. Very kindly invited me to give them a talk a couple of weeks ago. That was a great pleasure. Meri is a very distinguished art historian and studied in London and in Italy, in Florence, and then went on to work at Christie's before running a number of programs at SOAS at the University of London. SOAS, of course, one of our strategic partners at the Sainsbury Institute. We do a lot with SOAS, and over the last year we've been doing even more, and it's a great pleasure to welcome Dr. Monica Hinkle up this afternoon as well, who teaches Japanese art at SOAS too. At SOAS, the British Museum, and elsewhere, there are some fantastic programs in Japanese art, and Meri has been a tutor for the postgraduate diploma in Asian art at the British Museum, amongst other things, and at SOAS when that diploma moved across to SOAS for a number of years and kept that program very popular, very vibrant. Was a senior teaching fellow at SOAS for a number of years as well. But I do know also that Meri is a big hit with the Arts Society, and we have a number of friends from the Art Society with us this afternoon. You're very welcome. And these are usually these are our third Thursday lectures, but today, as a special exception, because next week is Easter, this is our second Thursday lecture. But we will be going back to our normal third Thursday slot in the near future. I've got a couple of just sort of housekeeping announcements. So the talk will last, we're hoping, till about 7 o'clock. And then we have a question and answer session after that. For those of you online, if you peer closely at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A box down there somewhere if you're on Zoom. And we'll read out a selection of those questions at the end. And those of you who are with us in the room here, we've got this trusty mic, which we'll be passing around and taking questions, if Meri is willing, of course, at the end of the talk. So Meri is going to be talking to us about this wonderful place, one of my favorite places in Japan. But I'm not going to preclude that in any way. I'm just going to hand over to Meri for the lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon, for that kind introduction. And thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. Very nice to see you all. Can you all hear me? Yes? Good. Is this microphone working too? Yes? Good. So, okay. So today's talk, my talk. Oh, okay. Right. So is about the great Buddha of Nara and treasures from the Silk Road. Many of you are aware that the British Museum had this wonderful exhibition quite recently about Silk Road. And the name of Silk Road somehow conjures up this romantic image. I think in the West, Silk Road is associated with places like Samarkand, Bukhara, or Central Asia. Some of you may have been. But in Japan, the name of Silk Road is associated with the treasures that are kept in Shoso-in storehouse of the Todai-ji temple. So when I visited this exhibition last autumn, I was pleasantly surprised and excited that the exhibition started from the section of Nara. But when I went in and saw what were displayed, I was rather disappointed because the British Museum could not borrow things from Japan. So today, I'd like to show you some of the beautiful objects that are surviving in this Shoso-in storehouse. But before showing you these things, I'd like to tell you a little bit about historical, religious, and philosophical background to the construction of the great Buddha, to place the treasures in context. Okay, so the great Buddha Hall of Todai-ji. Some of you may have been there. Is there anybody who's been? Oh, yes, quite a few people. So this is what you see when you go to Nara and visit the Todai-ji to see the great Buddha. Now, Todai-ji is a popular name, but its real name, or the official name, is Kon Komyo Shiten no Gokokuji, meaning Temple for the Protection of the Country by Golden Light of Four Heavenly Kings. And this is what you see today. It was originally built in the 8th century, but both the hall and the Buddha inside were damaged and restored a number of times over the centuries. It was finished, the Buddha was finished in the middle of 8th century, but in the 9th century, in the year 855, Buddha's head fell off because of the earthquake. And then in 1180, the great Buddha Hall was set on fire by somebody called Tairano Shigehira, during the war between two warrior families. And it was restored in 1195 by the new government, Kamakura government. So when it was restored after the Kamakura, 1195, this is what it looked like. This architectural model is displayed inside the Buddha Hall today. And it shows that the Kamakura period restoration had these magnificent 7-story pagodas on both sides. And actually, the Buddha Hall was considerably larger than the present-day Buddha Hall. It is recorded in a document from the Heian period called Todai-ji Yoroku, it says the width of the Buddha hall was 88 meters. But today, what you see is 57 meters. Today's Buddha hall is the restoration during the Edo period, because it was burned down again in the 16th century, and it was restored in the 17th century. So what you see today is the 17th, well, it was completed in 1709. So the early 18th century restoration, and the Buddha was restored too, because in the fire, bronze melted. So what you see today is the early 18th century Buddha. Now, when the Buddha hall was constructed in the middle of 8th century, this was what is called a Nara period, and the capital of Japan, present-day Nara, was called Heijō-kyo. And this was a time the great Tang Empire was at its height of prosperity in China. And Japan was sending envoys, official envoys to Tang China, Kentoshi, actually 5 times during the 8th century. And Japan was emulating China in every aspect of government, religious studies and art and culture, and the city planning as well. So Heijō-kyo was planned to simulate or copy the Tang capital Chang'an in the grid system, with the Imperial Palace in the north. And this location satisfied the Chinese theory of geomancy, because it had range of hills on the northeast. Northeast was considered dangerous direction, called Kimon, meaning demon gate in Japanese. And it was thought that the malevolent forces can come into the city from that direction. So it was good to have hills. And also, as you can see, the Todai-ji temple is in the northeast corner of the city. So doubly protecting the capital. Okay, so this is the aerial view of the Great Buddha Hall. It was commissioned by Emperor Shomu, who came to the throne in 724. His empress was called Empress Komyo, who came from a very powerful aristocratic family, Fujiwara family. And they were both very devout Buddhists. And the early part of Emperor Shomu's reign was very difficult, because there were political instability. There was an epidemic of smallpox, and the crops failed. There were famine. So emperor wanted the power of Buddhism to improve the country. And in the 13th year of Tenpyo era, which corresponds to 741 in Western calendar, he issued an edict to build state-sponsored temples in every province of Japan. They're called Kokubun-ji, meaning country, provincial temples. And he distributed sutra, the Buddhist scriptures, to the all these temples. Sutra of Golden Light to all the Kokubun-ji monasteries, and the Lotus Sutra to Kokubun-ji nunneries. Now, why did he choose this sutra? Here is what is an example of the sutras, 3 remaining from the 8th century, which is in Nara National Museum today. It is written in gold letters on purple paper. And paper was expensive, and gold ink, so it was very expensive project. And he distributed these sutras. Now, this passage from the Sutra of Golden Light tells you why he chose this sutra. I quote, "Then the 4 heavenly kings arose from their seat, and with their hands, right knee touching the ground and their palms joined in humility, thus addressed the Buddha. Most revered one, when in some future time, this sutra of the Golden Light is transmitted to every part of the kingdom, to its cities, towns, and villages, its mountains, forests, and fields, if the king of the land listens with his whole heart to these writings, praises them, and make offerings on their behalf to these writings, moreover, he supplies this sutra to the 4 classes of believers, protects them, and keeps all harm from them. We 4 heavenly kings will protect that king and his people, give them peace and freedom from suffering, prolong their lives, and fill them with glory." End of quote. So it's wonderful, isn't it? And 4 heavenly kings are called shitenno in Japanese. They are the guardians of 4 cardinal directions. And these ones are still in Todai-ji. They are not in the Great Buddha Hall, but they are in the ordination hall. So they date from the mid-8th century as well. You can see Tamonten, who protects nose, and so on. So these ordination hall images are not very big. They're about 1 meter high. But as you can see in this detail, they have quite animated facial expression, quite realistic for 8th century. These are made of clay. They're called sozo in Japanese. So 4 heavenly kings are very important in Japan. Almost all Japanese Buddhist temples have these 4 figures in the 4 corners of the image halls. So next time you visit Japanese temple, you can see if you can spot these 4 heavenly kings. Then after that, Emperor Shomu had a proclamation in 743. And he said, I quote, "Our fervent desire is that under the aegis of the 3 treasures, the benefit of peace may be brought to all heaven and on earth. And therefore, on the 15th day of the 10th month of the 15th year of Tenpyo, we take this occasion to proclaim our great vow of erecting an image of Loshana Buddha in gold and copper. We wish to make the utmost use of the nation's resources of metal in the casting of this image, and also to level off the high hill on which the great edifice is to be raised." End of quote. So, the Buddha is Loshana Buddha. He's not Shakyamuni, the founder of the Buddhism. It's easy to mistake him as Shakyamuni because of this Abhaya Mudra, fear not, hand gesture, but he's called Loshana or Virushana Buddha. And original Sanskrit name is Vairocana. He is Buddha of great sun, cosmic Buddha, and he is the source of light and enlightenment. He's described in this sutra called Kegon-kyo in Japanese, Flower Garland Sutra, in Sanskrit, Avatansaka Sutra. Now, Avatansaka Sutra is one of the important Mahayana scriptures, and it talks about, in few words, interdependency of all phenomena. it is a very long and complex philosophical text. It's difficult to understand. But anyway, this sutra talks about the cosmos of infinite realms upon realms filled with an immeasurable number of Buddhas. So Buddha Loshana or Virchana is at the center of all these Buddhas, which was wonderful metaphor for state Buddhism. So the Todai-ji, Great Buddha Hall, is in the center of these provincial temples. And the emperor identified himself with the Loshana Buddha. He is in the center of the nation. So this is the way this Buddhism was used in the state Buddhism. And that was not just in Japan. There was precedent in China. This is a Fenxiansu in Longman in China, which is near Luoyang. And here you can see the Great Buddha. Here it is carved, hewn out of the cliff by the river. And this is an amazing site. Longman has hundreds of these Buddhist sculptures dating from earlier than 7th century. This was done in the 7th century, so about a century before the Todai-ji Buddha. And you can see how big it is because there are some people standing on the left-hand side. And this was commissioned by somebody called Empress Wu Zhitan-tian, who ruled China in the 7th century. And some people say the face of the Buddha is perhaps a portrait of this empress. And during her reign, China Tang Dynasty became very powerful and prosperous. So, well, emperor must have heard about this great Buddha in China from these envoys. And he thought he will make a great Buddha too. But in Japan, there isn't any suitable cliff to do this in Nara. So he decided to build it with bronze. This is what you see today. But as I have already told you, this is the 17th century reconstruction, and Buddha's face does not reflect the 8th century style. And the only part of the Buddha that survived these fire twice, it was got burnt down and bronze melted, only part survived were these lotus petals on which the Buddha is seated. And the lotus petal is decorated with incised decoration like this. So the 8th century Buddha must have more like this decoration. Round face and broad shoulder, bare chest, and you can see the very clear 3 lines on his neck, which is, well, sometimes described as beauty lines, well, kind of well-fed look. And well, this must have been the style of the 8th century Buddha. And here is an example of late 7th century Buddha, Yakushi Buddha, in the Yakushi temple. And this is more like the original Buddha, I think. It has got a kind of a cheek, full cheek, very clear 3 lines on his neck, and broad shoulder, bare chest, and Indian style robe just covering his left shoulder. So Buddha must have looked like this. And as I have already mentioned, that original Buddha in Emperor Shomu's proclamation was made in gold and copper. It was gilt. And here are some, couple of visual evidence. On top is the 12th century emaki, Shigisan Engi. It shows Buddha, gold Buddha. This is a famous scene of example of simultaneous narrative. When nun goes to the Todai-ji, she is tired and she falls asleep. And the Buddha tells whereabout of her lost brother. Anyway, it's a gold Buddha. And the bottom is Edo period, Daibutsu Engi, meaning the history of origin of the great Buddha. And here you can see great Buddha in gold as well. Okay, so construction of the great Buddha started in the 17th year of Tempyo, corresponding to 745. And how do you cast such a big image? You can't cast in one go. Right, so this diagram shows it was done in 8 stages. When they did the bottom part, they put more soils and then did the second part and so on. And Buddha was 16 meters high, estimated about 250 tons. So it's really big and heavy. And it was very difficult project for Japan in the 8th century. It was very costly project. Imperial coffer was depleted. And there was a fundraising activity by monk called Gyoki, who traveled around Japan asking for donation, any kind of metal or wood to make the Buddha. And there is a record that 370,000 people gave something for this, but it was still difficult. And what happened next was they invited Japanese kami hachiman to come to Todai-ji to become the protector of the great Buddha in 749. So Hachiman is Japanese kami or god of mining and war. And when he came, lo and behold, they found gold mine in the north of Japan. So they could gild the Buddha. So 752, the Buddha was completed, and there was a wonderful eye-opening ceremony. Eye-opening ceremony is symbolically painting the pupil of the image to invest spirit into the sculpture. So it was held on the 9th day of 4th month of Tempyo Shoho, 4th year of Tempyo Shoho, which is 752. Now, this photograph is not 8th century, but this is a photograph of the restoration done in the 20th century. And it is kind of simulating the 8th century eye-opening ceremony. And you can see the whole is decorated with these 5 colored Buddhist colors banners. And in the front of the hall, you can see a temporary stage. And also, I'd like you to notice on the right-hand side, there are long banners with triangular top. Can you see? So these are 8th century style decoration of Buddhist temple hall. And we still have these 8th century banners that was used in 752, which are preserved in the Shoso-in storage. And this shows very much like the Chinese ones. These are Chinese ones discovered in Donghuang Cave, which was sealed in the year 1002. So yes, this was a kind of Buddhist decoration used in China. And Japan was using same kind of decoration. And on that temporary stage, there were a masked dance with music, and these are the masks used for that dance and masked kind of entertainment. And these survive in the storehouse too. And there are many of them. These are called gigaku masks. And these entertainment, they played not just Japanese music, but for the eye-opening ceremony, there were many guests coming from wide part of the Silk Road, actually. So Chinese, Koreans, even Indian monks, and some people from Central Asia was there. So the music was really a mixture of the music and dance from all these parts of Asia. It's a very international affair, and there are so many of these masks still surviving. And it is said that some of these masks have very big nose. That means, well, they're foreigners in Japan. And this kind of a masked drama or masked dance and music, they're still used or played in Japan. Sometimes gigaku is done in the festivals in a Shinto shrine or Buddhist temples. Gagaku is played Imperial palace. So these, from the 8th century, these kind of entertainment still survive in Japan. And also what we can see in the storehouse is this brush that was used for painting the eye and long rope, blue rope. And the Indian monk called Bodhisena had honor of symbolically painting the pupil of the Buddha. And this long rope was tied at the end of the brush. And Emperor, Empress, aristocrats, and many guests from Central Asia and different parts of Asia, they too held onto the rope and symbolically, but physically participating in this ceremony. It's quite amazing, isn't it? And so all these things are kept in Shoso-in, the storage or house of the Todai-ji temple. This is the 8th century building, and here more than 9,000 objects were kept. It is a big building. There are 3 parts to it. But in the 20th century, in 1963, a new building was built to the left of this building, and the new ferro-concrete building is temperature and humidity controlled and fireproof. So all the objects were moved to there for the security. So Shosoin is empty today, but the building is designated as national treasure. You can see it is on the raised floor style, which originate from the granary building in olden days. And here is the detail of the side build. Oh, sorry, I don't need that. It's okay, you don't need that. It's called azekura-zukuri, made of Japanese cypress. And these triangular shaped logs are stuck on top of each other. So it's like a log cabin. And North Depository has Emperor Shomu's personal items, and South Depository has artifacts used for the eye-opening ceremony. And the middle has all the other things that belong to the temple. Now, how do they know? North Depository has Emperor Shomu's personal items. Unfortunately, Emperor Shomu died only 4 years after the eye-opening ceremony from illness. And heartbroken Empress, she decided to dedicate his personal belongings to the Buddha of Todai-ji. And this is a part of this Kokkachinpo-cho. This is a Kenmotsu-cho, the list of dedicated items, over 700 items. This scroll is very, very long, like 4 meters, 70 centimeters. And if you look at the detail here, it is believed that it is written in Empress Komyo's own hand. And if we look at, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the right, it says Raden Shtan Gogen Biwa, meaning mother of pearl inlaid, red sandalwood, 5-string biwa, which is like lute, pipa in Chinese, musical instrument. So you can recognize exactly which one it is. And so here is the red sandalwood 5-string biwa with mother of inlay. These are not two different ones. One is the front where there's plectrum guard, and the back of it, the other photograph is back of it, beautifully decorated. It's about 1 meter high, and it has lovely mother of pearl decoration. Here are the details. So plectrum guard has this motif of camel with a musician sitting on it and playing similar musical instrument. And of course, camels don't exist in Japan. So it was very exotic kind of decoration. And on the left-hand side, you see the detail from the back of it. And mother of pearl, and also red part is very thinly sliced tortoise shell, and underneath it, it has a gold color, gold paper. So it looks like red, but this was very popular way of decorating objects. And it is believed that 5-string lute originate from India. This is the only one in the world that survived from the 8th century. And there are 4 other biwa in Shoso-in, but those are 4-stringed biwa, and with a decoration of mokuga, meaning stained wood inlay. So different colored wood is making this beautiful decoration. 4-stringed biwa is believed to have originate from Sasanian world, so kind of Iranian world. I'm not a musical instrument expert, but I have been told that these are probably from the Sasanian world. And Shosoin is very rich with a musical instrument. Those biwa are played with this plectrum. And on your right, you can see a photograph, a painting that is in the British Museum today. Buddhist deity, Bodhisattva, is playing this similar kind of biwa. So biwa remained very popular in Japan, and there are still professional biwa players in Japan today. And here is another kind of musical instrument. This one is called genkan. And again, this one has mother of pearl inlay. And this is more like a Chinese instrument. And here is the detail of the back of it. And here we can see this confronting parrot with jewels in their mouth and flower in the middle. This is considered to be very Chinese Tang period decoration. And in Japan, there are 18 kinds of different kinds of musical instrument in Shosoin, like this ceramic body drum or bamboo flute, and sho, which is panpipe. This is something played in Gagaku Imperial Palace today. And these little figures, they are from the Phoenix Hall dating from the 11th century, showing that Buddhist music were played with these instruments. Now, another very interesting thing are games. Here is example. These all from the North Depository. So these belong to Emperor Shomu. And this is Go board, which is still played in Japan today. And it is made of red sandalwood and decorated with ivory. These white lines are ivory, and side of it has this wood inlay decoration. And it has, as you can see, it has these, well, it's like Othello with more squares. And these stones are very well decorated as well. Here's another example of game. This is Goroku board. And again, it's decorated with wood. Now, we don't know how they played. Some people think it is a little bit like backgammon. And similar type of board was discovered in Central Asia. So probably they originate from the Central Asia. Okay. And then there are other items such as these incense burner, which these are actually used for the eye-opening ceremony. So they are in the South Depository, beautifully decorated. And similar decoration, mother of pearl inlay box for storing bronze mirror. In East Asia, bronze mirrors are very important. It has got symbolic, talismanic significance too. Often it is put into the, you can find them in the tombs, but it's a very precious object. So they were stored in this kind of beautiful boxes. And then there are metal works. This is silver tatsa with hunting scene, typical of Tang Dynasty metal objects, silver gilt. And it has got this background with kind of little circles. These are called nanako in Japanese, means fish eggs. So this is a caviar decoration. And these hunting scenes are also very Tang period Chinese kind of decoration. Another incense diffuser, which was used in the eye-opening ceremony, it is silver. And of course, silver oxidized, so it is a little bit dark today, but beautifully pierced. And there are some glass objects in the Shoso-in too. Glass were very rare in the 8th century Japan. And here on the left is blue alkaline lime molded glass cup, which is quite small, only about 10 centimeters high, so it's quite small. And it has got this very distinctive decoration of circles. In Korea, they have green example with similar decoration in the Buddhist reliquary. So these two are believed that they came from Sasanian world, where they were making glass. On the left is, these are believed to be Chinese style. They're called ear cups, green ear-shaped lead glass cups, very shallow, but they are cups. Another example of glass. So this is alkaline lime glass faceted bowl from Sasanian world in the Shoso-in. And you can see this one was discovered in Iran in the 20th century. it was in the ground. So the condition has deteriorated a lot. It's a similar cup. But the one in Shoso-in, it was wrapped in cloth and kept in a wooden box. So it remained in the beautiful condition. Also, there are ceramic items. Tan Sansai ceramic items. These are typical Tang Dynasty decoration. And you can see it's a combination of brown, green glaze. And both of them have a bit of green and brown decoration. And these were very popular in the Tang Dynasty, but they disappear after Tang Dynasty. And the shape of these objects are very interesting too, because as you can see, on the left is Abbasid brass ewer, which is in the British Museum today. In the middle, Tan Sansai ceramic ewer. And on the right is lacquered ewer with bird's head in Shoso-in. So you can see, well, sometimes it's described as international style. All these places are making similar shaped vessels. And materials different, of course, here, metal, ceramic, and lacquered object. But they were copying. This shape did not really was adopted in Japan after 8th century. We don't see them. Sometimes you see them in Buddhist ritual ewer, but not many. And then Shoso-in is very rich in the examples of textile too. Textiles are a very difficult thing to preserve in a harsh climate in Central Asia or China or so on. But in Japan, these were kept in wooden boxes too. So this example is a beautiful silk damask table cover. There are over 180,000 examples of textile in Shoso-in. Some of them are tiny fragments, I have to say. These big ones are quite rare, but there are so many of them. And one of the popular motif is this confronting motif surrounded by pearl roundels. And these, on the left is Chinese example. On the right is perhaps from the Sasanian world. And this pearl roundel was going around everywhere in Central Asia, it seems like. The one example on the left was displayed in the British Museum Silk Road exhibition. So some of you may have seen it. And this motif is not just in textile, but also you can see them in wall painting in Central Asia. Kizil Cave has this animal or bird inside the pearl roundel. So this is very popular motif in the 8th century. The roundel is here, you can see it again in the elbow breast, covered in brocade. And then other kind of textiles. On the right is screen panels that were in the North Depository. So they belong to Emperor Shomu. That's a decoration in the Imperial Palace. And these have this mirror image motifs, which is made from this technique called kyoketi, which means you can see in the middle wooden motif, wooden kind of mold, and inks are put into the groove, and then cloths are put inside, and then put it together. So you get the mirror image. And on the left too, you can see these two birds confronting. And then there's another similar technique, but this is called rokechi, registered die screen panels. So these screen panels are actually very big, about 160 centimeters, which is about my height. And in this case, well, one animal and under the tree. This under the tree animal is also a very popular motif in the 8th century. And these are very famous example in Japan. All the, well, I had these images in the textbook in the primary school. So I think all the children in Japan see this image. This is a lady under the tree. And it is said it was her robe was decorated with bird's feather. But of course, bird's feather have gone now. So it looks like her robe is not decorated. But what I like you to notice is her face. She has she's a plump lady, which is very similar to what we call, well, this town ceramic figure of fat lady. And in the 8th century, it was fashionable to be plump, I think. So one of my friends said, oh, I should have been born in the 8th century. But anyway, it shows, her face shows the Tang Dynasty ladies' fashion. And Shoso-in has example of medicines too. There are 60 different kinds of medicine in the Shoso-in, in the North Depository. So these belonged to Emperor. I don't think Emperor used all of them. Some of them are given to Seiyakuin, which is Empress Komyo's charitable hospital for poor people. And on the top is Korean ginseng, which all of you know. And it was believed it will prolong life. And then there are some things like cinnamon on the bottom, and this one. What do you think this is? Any idea? Well, this is a dinosaur fossil. And they believed it was dragon's tooth. It's actually quite big. And it seems they shaved it and believed it will give eternal life. I don't think it did. Anyway, so what I was trying to show you was this variety of objects. There are so many different things in the Shosoin storehouse. And Shosoin, in Japan, we have Shosoin exhibition every autumn. Since after World War II, they started to do this Shosoin exhibition at the Nara National Museum every autumn. So these are the posters from the previous years. And usually some objects were taken out from the Shosoin and displayed. And they try to take different things out. So some people go every year to see Shosoin exhibition in Nara. And this is the poster from last year, which was on from 26th October to 11th of November. And yes, So as I said, some people go every year and it's very crowded, but this is a time you can see these wonderful objects. So, okay, so the summary is Nara period, 8th century, was when the Heijō-kyo was the capital of Japan from 710 to 794. And Buddhism was the religion for the protection of the country at that time. And it was state Buddhism. Religion and imperial authority mutually sustained each other at that time. And we see the international kind style of art, well, similar kind of art in many parts of Asia. So that tells us Shoso-in artifacts indicate the active exchanges with the legends of the Silk Road. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Meri. What a wonderful talk. And those images, oh my goodness, have transported me straight back to Nara. I think I could have been born in the 8th century as well, to tell the truth. Got to work on my beauty circles, but I thought that was absolutely fabulous. You've shown us some really exquisite objects from the Shosoin. I guess my first question is, have you been into the Shosoin to see the stuff there, or have you only been able to see it in the exhibitions? Only in it, like most people. I think it's a very complicated process to get into the Shosoin anyway, I think, isn't it?
It's opened only 2 months of the year with permission of the emperor.
So it's really a very special thing. Yes. And
anyway, it's empty now.
Well, that's true. But the queues that go around the Nara National Museum for the season, because this exhibition is only on for really just a couple of weeks, isn't it? It's a very short time, and it's difficult to get tickets even for that, I think. But I know I've been lucky, and I've been able to get to see some of the things on display. And I think there's something very special about that sense of you're seeing things which normally nobody is seeing. It's not as if that they're, as you said, there's a couple of images in textbooks and things like that, but you really don't get, there's a very special atmosphere, I think, around all of this, isn't there? And there's the notion of these things being hidden. I have a question for you. I was very struck when you were talking about the war god and the god of mining, Hachiman, being brought along, especially for the mining, presumably for the copper, to make that great Buddha. And you said 250 tons. That is an astonishing amount of metal. And interestingly, that Japan doesn't have a huge amount of metal sources like this. And I was very struck that you said that shortly after Hachiman arrived, they discovered the gold mines in the north of Japan. And I know that some gold mines in northern Japan on the island of Sado were just last year were made a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Is that the gold mines that you were thinking of?
Near Hiraizumi, yes. They don't have it anymore. They have exhausted gold from there. But during the Heian period, the Hiraizumi was very prosperous, and branch family of Fujiwara, they were ruling that part. And of course, they are the ones who made this golden hall of Chuseonji temple, where all the images are covered in gold. Yes, so it was near there.
Okay, how wonderful.
Tohoku area.
In the Tohoku up in the northeast. Wonderful. Thank you. So do we have any questions in the room? I'm going to pass the microphone over to Laura, if you'd just like to put your hand up, or do we have anybody online at the moment? Why don't we do the online ones and then have a think if you've got some questions? And Laura, can I pass you the mic?
Thank you. So yes, we have two questions online so far. So the first one, Would these wonderful treasures have been gifts to the Japanese emperor from countries along the Silk Road or tribute, or would the emperor have bought them?
I think they were, well, we don't know exactly, but I think they were gifts when people came for the eye-opening ceremony.
Fabulous. Thank you. The next question. I visited the temple exactly a year ago. I was intrigued to see children and thin people going through a hole in the base of one of the pillars. This, I believe, is the size of the nostril of the Buddha. If you can do this, I believe it confers long life. Have I got this right?
Yes, actually, Todai-ji, Great Buddha Hall, is a favorite place for school outings. So I did go when I was a child, and I did go through the hall as well. I wouldn't try it now, but yes, yes, grown-up can go through it too. And it is kind of believed, yes, you are reborn after you have gone through the hall and things like that.
Fantastic. We've actually got quite a few questions online. So I read one more and then perhaps we'll go to the room if there are any questions. Thank you very much for the informative talk. I was wondering, is there any project or initiative going on to digitize the collection of the Shosoin? It would be great to make this treasure of beautifully preserved items accessible for everyone to see.
Right. I'm afraid I don't know exactly if there's digitalization going on, but there are beautiful images online. During the time of the Shosoin exhibition, there were videos on YouTube. You could see them, but unfortunately, it was just in Japanese. So maybe somebody from the audience know that if digitalization was going on from the Professor Uno. Yes, it will be wonderful, isn't it? And also, if you can do that Shosoin exhibition in this country, it will be wonderful. But that's not going to happen, is it?
Probably not. It would be wonderful. I'm guessing if the British Museum were trying to borrow things from the Shosoin for the Silk Road exhibition, that could explain why they weren't able to bring anything. There's no digitization of these objects happening that I'm aware of, but there is an amazing program where they're making some very high quality replicas of some of the objects from the Shosoin. And in fact, I believe that's a traveling exhibition in its own right. So maybe even if we can't bring the real treasures from the Shosoin, we could look in the future to see if we could bring some replicas. And then with that, to bring what's been wonderful about that, I think the techniques which are used to make these wonderful items is then made very clear, because you have to be tremendously skilled craft people to be able to make these things. So
yes, the purpose of making these replicas are really the technique, so that present day craftsmen can learn these techniques from the 8th century. And there was a concerted effort to make replicas after the war. So yes, that is going on.
And in fact, maybe some of you saw, but last May, almost exactly a year ago, we had a very small exhibition just downstairs in the hostelry of some items. They weren't from the Shosoin itself, but they were from a place called the Shosoin of the Sea, a little island called Okinoshima, where you do get slightly similar materials, in particular, the Sasanian glass bowl that you showed. There's a glass bowl from Okinoshima and bronze mirrors and some of the 3 glazed ceramics as well. So that was lovely to have that. It made me think, wouldn't it be fantastic to bring some more of those replicas and the people who are making them,
yes,
over to Norwich? I think there would be a lot of interest in that, certainly.
Right.
We have a question at the back. Just a second, Peter, I will bring you the microphone. Bear with me.
Running around.
It's coming. We have to invest in some more microphones one day. Here we are.
Thank you very much for the fascinating lecture. What accounts for the miraculous state of preservation of these items. They look brand new. So how have they survived so well for so many centuries?
So the main reason for the good condition is they were wrapped in cloth and kept in wooden chest, and they did not see the sunlight. Some of them were really not exposed to the elements. So that is one. And some of them were restored slightly if the mother of pearl has come off, they have put it back on after the World War II. So that is why they are in good condition. But of course, musical instrument is very delicate, so they do not survive in the countries of the origin. And in Shosoin, they were not actually played after 8th century. They were kept in the boxes. So that is how they remained in good condition. It's really, they were not used for these objects.
Here are a couple more here. There we are.
Thank you. The practice of partially rebuilding temples every 20 years, I believe, still carries on in order to reserve the craft that's required. Which in the end ends up with a temple really being almost a complete reconstruction. Has that applied to this particular temple as well?
No, Ise Shrine, as you know, is rebuilt every 20 years. And that is really useful for the craftsmen and carpenters to learn the skill. Because, well, in 20 years, somebody who was apprentice might be the main carpenter. And then after 20 years, he might be the master carpenter and so on. So all the other objects too, for the Ise Shrine, the items dedicated to the sun goddess Amaterasu, they were recreated every 20 years. But that is Shinto shrine. Now, Shinto shrines are different from Buddhist temples. And Buddhist temples are built to last long time. And unfortunately, in Japan, lots of them catch fire and get destroyed. But basically, the difference is Shinto shrine, the purity and cleanliness is very important. And after 20 years, thatched roof will deteriorate. It's dirty, which is not good for the Japanese kami. So you have to rebuild it. But temples are built, temple architectures, they learned from China, and they are built to last. Their pillars are not directly into the ground, but they sit on the stone foundation, and the roofs are tiled. And they don't last forever. They have to change sometime, but there is no need to rebuild the temple regularly. So that's the difference, Shinto and Buddhism. But as I said, Kami Hachiman came to Todai-ji. So today, when you visit Todai-ji, there is still Hachiman Shrine inside the Buddhist complex. And that is one of the early examples of the Shinto and Buddhism working together. And many of the temples have their protective kami, protective Japanese kami, usually of the land, that particular land. So they will have small shrine, Shinto shrine, inside the Buddhist complex. And that's how Shinto and Buddhism worked in Japan. And they did collaborate in a way. So that's the difference, but there is this coexistence in Japan. And one of the reasons I think of possibility of coexistence is both Buddhism and Shintoism, polyistic religion. There is no one absolute kami or absolute Buddha. There are many Buddhas in this world, and ultimate purpose of Buddhist is to become Buddha himself as well. So world is full of Buddhas. And in Japan, there are lots and lots of kami. Kami of mountain, kami of river, kami of rain, kami of wind. It is usually said there are 8 million kami in Japan. So actually, both Shinto and Buddhism have many deities. And perhaps it is easier to accept other side, kami, or deities, because if it's a monoistic culture, say Muslim and Judaism, only their God is absolute, so you cannot accept other. But in Japan, for centuries, Buddhism and Shinto coexisted. And that has happened in other South Asian countries as well. Buddhism has this large kind of thinking of accepting their local God. So places like Cambodia, they have, well, Buddhism came, but they also accepted their local God of river or whatever. So that's how it worked. And sorry, it's kind of digressed. Gone a little bit far from your question, but Japanese temples are not rebuilt every 20 years. It's Shinto. And not all Shinto shrines are rebuilt. It's particularly the Ise shrine, the shrine that is considered to be the shrine that enshrines the ancestor of the present day imperial family in Japan. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a really wonderful talk. I'm very interested in the biwas, and have a friend who plays the satsuma biwa, and it is such an extraordinary sound that comes from it. And I wondered whether people. I wondered how many people would it be played commonly amongst people? And also my second part of that is, would the instrument function as some kind of sort of sacred object in homes?
I'm afraid biwa is very specialized kind of instrument. So it's not very common for ordinary people to play. It has to be somebody who specializes in that. And there are only very few professional biwa players in Japan. Some people might pick it up as a hobby, but that is very rare. Right. Oh, how amazing. Wow. Oh, yes. And plays biwa. Amazing. That's interesting. Yes. Yeah. And biwa was actually quite popular in the Heian period, I think. And there are illustrations of emaki, the scroll of diary of Lady Murasaki, which is the lady who wrote the Tale of Genji. And there is an illustration of an aristocrat, a man playing biwa in there. And during the Kamakura period, there were blind musicians going around with biwa and telling about the story of this family, Heike, which Taira family, they had this epic war in the end of 12th century. They were defeated, but the story of that family was it became like a song, and these blind musicians, itinerant musicians, traveled in Japan and told these stories. So some people today, they use that story with biwa.
Ah, Meri, thank you so much. Last May, we had a shore player came to Norwich.
Yes.
We had Professor Fabio Rambelli came, and this gave us a little bit of the flavour of the music that you get. It'd be lovely to have some biwa players come one time. So we'll have to.
Last year, we sponsor Japanese Women's Association sponsor UCL,
Yes.
University of London's project called UCL Japan Youth Challenge. And they have this workshop with Japanese high school students and British high school students. And there was a symposium, and one biwa player came from Japan. And yeah, he played, which was very nice.
How fantastic.
And, yeah, somehow the sound is like out of this world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Meri. I'm afraid we're running out of time now, and for everybody online who has posted questions, we'll make sure that Meri gets to see the questions, and we might sort of see if we can get you a couple of answers. But I think I'd just like to invite everybody to thank Meri for a wonderful talk and for opening our eyes, I think, about these fantastic, amazingly well-preserved treasures in the Shoso-in. You don't see anything like this from China. Nothing survives as well in such good condition, which is what makes it a truly unique resource that we have there. Meri has kindly agreed that we can record the lecture. So we've done that, and it will be available to view on our YouTube channel from early next week. So thank you very much for allowing that. So if anybody would like to have another look, feel very free. For our online audiences, there'll be a feedback form appearing in your browser after this session, and you will receive a link to the form in a follow-up email tomorrow. So please do fill that in if you can. It's and for our colleagues here, friends here in the audience, we've got some paper feedback forms at the back of the room. Always seems to be a nuisance to be asked to give your feedback, but I have to say it makes a huge difference to us, and it allows us to feedback to our very generous supporters to say how much everybody's enjoying it or not. Hopefully everybody's enjoying it, and it helps us just continue to improve our lectures, really. We're very fortunate at the moment. We have three rather wonderful visitors with us from Japan. Next month, we're going to be hearing from our own Dr. Pauline Ota, who is our current Robert and Lisa Sainsbury Fellow at the Sainsbury Institute. And Pauline is going to be speaking about wicked history in print, thoughts on Utagawa Kuniyoshi's triptych, the Takayasha, the witch, and the skeleton demon. So there's something to set us up for the summer. Very much looking forward to that, taking us back to the world of woodblock prints. But we also have two new visitors with us for the next few months. Professor Unno, you've already heard a little bit from, is from the University of Tokyo and is an architectural historian working indeed on this period and a little earlier. And Professor Miyama from Chuo University in Tokyo, who's going to be with us for a year, looking at comparisons between royal ceremonies between the UK and Japan. So we're very much looking forward to getting to know you both and your families while you're here. And we have a wonderful community here in Norwich, and I know we're going to go downstairs and have maybe just a little bit of refreshment after. It's just at the back of the room, not downstairs, back of the room. We've got a little bit of sake, and so do stay on and introduce yourselves to all of our visitors. I know they would very much like the opportunity to meet you and get to know you while they're here. I want to thank the support, our wonderful supporters, Yakult UK, the Great Britain Sasakara Foundation, and the Gatsby Charitable Foundation, without whom we wouldn't be able to do these Third Thursday lectures. So that's it's a big thank you to all of our supporters there. And I'd just like to invite you all to join with me once again in thanking Meri for an absolutely splendid lecture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and good night. And those of you in the room, please join us at the back. Those of you online, I'm afraid you'll have to make your own arrangements, but come and join us for an in-person opportunity in the near future. Thank you.